Hello there. Good evening, everyone. This is Dari on WorldStreams Radio. Thank you to our listeners from around the world for joining us tonight, and also to those of you here in our virtual auditorium on paltalk.com. To learn more about WorldStreams Radio, visit our website at worldstreams.org. Tonight our guest is Armen Chakmakian. Armen is a Grammy-nominated keyboardist who orchestrates a musical journey spanning new territories with his intoxicating fusion of world textures and contemporary jazz influences. We play Armen's music all the time on WorldStreams Radio. He's one of our favorite musical artists, and we're very excited he's with us this evening. Hi there, Saeed. Hello, Armen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Hello, Dari. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. And good evening to you, Armen Chakmakian.
Hello, Saeed.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
You're very welcome.
It's a pleasure. You grew up in a musical family. What influence did that have on your career choice?
The first influence that it had was that I loved music. It was always in the house. It was all around me. Whenever we went out to any particular events, there was always music. As far as my career choice, it's almost like one of those things where my career chose me instead of me choosing the career. It was just something I loved doing. I was doing it all the time, every minute I could, either listening or playing or learning. I didn't really have my sights set on anything else. I sort of just went down that road and ended up where I am right now.
So you developed the gift of playing music by ear, and in addition to that, of course, you have an extensive educational background in music. Tell our listener a little bit about it.
The playing by ear I did when it was. I learned how to read music and all that at the same time that I was kind of picking out stuff by ear when I was a little kid. But the beginnings of it was getting a drum set when I was probably about 3 years old. Not really learning how to play drums, but it was something I was banging around on. And then we ended up moving next door to a piano teacher in the city that I live in. And I was 7 years old, and I saw kids going in and out of her house. So I went over there one day and asked her what was going on, and she brought me inside the house, and I sat on the next to her on the piano. She started playing, and that was really the first time I had been in the presence of a musician. I mean, I'd seen people playing from afar if I was at a banquet or a wedding or something in the band, but I was never right next to someone. So that was actually the beginnings of it.
So you're a native of Glendale, California, correct?
Yes, I am.
And also culturally, ethnically, you are Armenian.
Yeah, both my parents were raised in the Armenian Quarter in Jerusalem. They immigrated here in the 50s, sometime in the mid-50s.
How much of that did influence your taste in music? For example, well, of course, a variety of things. Anybody who listens to your music will find out. Jazz fusion, somewhat Arabic beat, and then Armenian. How much of all that did evolve and develop in your taste of music and also in your career?
It all, when I did my first record, it all kind of culminated into ceremonies. The first record. I went through my phases where, growing up as a kid, my favorite thing to listen to was rock and roll. I had an older brother that was always listening to Led Zeppelin and CCR and some of the old classic rock bands. And then I had another brother who was listening to big band. As far as where I grew up and the influence, looking back on it, it was strange because what I thought was Armenian music as I was growing up was more Middle Eastern influenced music.
Arabic.
Yeah, a lot of Arabic, a lot of Persian influences. There was the Armenian influence in it, but it was very much a mix of all that, Turkish music. And then when the first wave of Armenians came in the late 70s, early 80s from Iran, and I started hearing, making friends with these Armenians, going over to their homes and hearing a different kind of Armenian music. When I started studying it in the early 90s, I wanted to find out what are the roots of Armenian music. I'm really curious because I'm hearing Armenian influences on top of other ethnic music, but I really got to a point where I wanted to know what is indigenous to Armenian music. And at the same time, years before this, I was very much into African music and African percussion, and I was learning I have a circle of friends that are in the Latin music scene, and I was learning Cuban rhythms and, which percussion instrument does what on what tune, the different rhythms and all that. So, actually the first piece on Ceremonies, Gypsy Rain, is kind of a hybrid of all of that mixed into one. It's got a lot of, it has one Cuban instrument, two Cuban instruments being played in it, and a little bit of, an Iraqi rhythm called a Georgiana that's the whole piece is being played over.
As you once said, Gypsy Rain is one of those pieces that definitely hits the spot. For some reason, I keep playing it in my mind all the time. It's such an inspiring piece of music. Now, the combination between the different rhythms, as we know, rhythm and melody make up. I think you wrote that melody is the God that very much directs the soul. The soul is the rhythm. How do you find the compromise between all the two of them without going overboard with one or the other?
It depends how I come up with the piece. Sometimes, I hear it all in my head at the same time, and it's just a matter of putting it down on a recording. With Gypsy Rain, how did this start? Gypsy Rain, I actually started with that rhythm. It's a rhythm if you know time signatures, it's in 10/8. And like I said, it's an Iraqi rhythm called a Georgiana that was very popular with oud music being played by Armenians. They love playing over that rhythm. So, I wanted to write something with that rhythm in mind. And just playing over it, sort of improvising and recording my improvisations, that's how I think it was the second or third improvisation I did over it was basically 90% of the piece just came